Hare Krishna, not able to hear you, Mataji.
Now? Can you hear
You're
me?
quite low, but
Okay, good. Now you can hear me. Okay, so welcome to Gita Connection. And we have a Bhagavad Gita verse today that we will be discussing. And Vilas Manjari, if you're ready, please.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Should I go ahead and read?
Yes.
So Gita 3.35. Shriyan Swadharmo Viguna Paradharmat Swa Anushtita Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhayavaha. Translation. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Purport. One should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Materially, prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for his particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashurama was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. Yes. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Haribol.
Wow. Powerful purport. You want to comment anything, Vilas Manjari?
Yeah, so basically Swadharma, it has I think I really love to share another thing. Another verse that I remembered from the previous chapter. Swadharma it has been coming frequently in these first few chapters of Gita, first 4 chapters. And we need to, before dwelling into this verse, I think it makes sense to understand Swadharmas. Like There are two Swadharmas, Swadharma for the body and material body, and Swadharma of the soul, Dharma of the soul. Dharma of the soul is to constantly remember Krishna. So that state of consciousness remains steady and constant, irrespective of external activities. But Prabhupada very nicely says in this purport that material, as long as one is materially conditioned under the modes of material nature, he must perform duties according to the modes of material nature in the last part of the purport. And also in somewhere in the purport, he says, under the spells, yeah, materially prescribed duties are duties enjoyed according to one's psychophysical condition. Yeah. So psychophysical condition, as long as we identify ourselves with the body and mind, we need to perform these prescribed duties that are enjoyed according to psychophysical condition, Kshatriya, Brahmana, and Vaishya, Shudra. So, and in 2.31, let me share that Prabhupada makes very nice point. I just want to have that foundation also before dwelling into this discussion, that there are two kinds of swadharmas, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. So this understanding, I find it very, very helpful. It's like a guiding light to know that until we are on the liberated stage, means I'm not identifying with the body and mind and the miseries and enjoyment that come along with it. I'm not attached to them anymore, and I'm not affected by them. And that means I'm situated in the Atma's identity of servant of Krishna, and the duties associated with that, with the soul's identity of being Krishna's servant. I'm more attached to that, and so until that's what one in some place Prabhupada says, bhakti begins when one is liberated from these material things. So unless, but sadhaka, as a sadhaka, we are in between. We are neither fully liberated from the, we have a lot of subtle anarthas, are also gross sometimes, and neither fully attracted to Krishna. We have like one leg here, one leg there. I have attraction to Krishna. I have bhakti for Krishna. I want to be engaged, which we also act upon that. And but also I carry some material desires inside me, which are hard to trace, especially when I'm practicing bhakti. But yeah, that is our situation. We have to address our psychophysical nature, which Prabhupada very beautifully says in the purport, that as long as one is under the modes of material nature, he has to perform the prescribed duty associated with the psychophysical nature, psychophysical condition. So there is no escape, only there is no go. I mean, in order to become purified, not it's not like Vedic. I find this Varnashrama system so emphatic that it addresses the needs of the psychophysical nature. Like Brahmana derives pleasure from the knowledge, Kshatriya derives pleasure from protecting the people and challenging and administration. So it addresses that, and it at the same time it dovetails by keeping Vishnu in the center, pleasing Vishnu in the center. And so to become purified, basically, I engage in that nature accordingly. And one last point I would say is, in modern times, it's difficult to determine whether I'm Kshatriya, Brahmana, or Vaishya, Shudra, but still we can make it out. One who likes to manage the money and and agriculture, and we see in India also many are taking up to this organic farming and all. That's like Vaishya mentality, and also Brahminical mentality is like kind of somewhat we can compare to those who are driven to work in the scientific field and research area. So we still can do that. Yeah, that's my reflection on this verse. Yeah.
Beautiful point. When you were explaining about it's difficult to determine about our natures, I was thinking what helps me is the principle that I learned in recovery, like 12-step recovery groups, is that to keep my side of the street clean. This is a principle that I learned in this 12 step, that it becomes, when we are joining Krishna consciousness, there are so many rules and regulations. You should do that, you should not do that. There are many things. But based on our natures, sometimes we can become very judgmental. And then some things may be easy for me. And then I expect and I judge that everybody's supposed to do those things. And when they don't do those things, then I say, oh, they're not, whatever, Krishna conscious. So there is a risk of becoming judgmental if I don't keep my side of the street clean. It's an expression. What does it mean to keep my side of the street clean? It means that, like what that purport said, right? Prabhupada said, don't imitate others. Don't compare your life with others. When you are given assigned with a certain nature and your inclinations, then you don't try to become like somebody else. Let's read that. It says, when Prabhupada uses very heavy example, right? He says, yeah, exactly. Even up to death. Even up to death, we're not supposed to imitate. We're supposed to keep to our side of the street. And when it says about prescribed duties, there are levels. There is Kriya Shakti level duties, then there is the Dravya Shakti level duties, and then there is the Jnana Shakti level duties. In a deeper sense, which is about, like, we have been discussing in our other groups about Enneagram. We've been discussing about how to find out how do I keep my side of the street clean? It was always a question in my mind, for me, in my life. What am I supposed to say or do, or how do I realize if I'm doing the right thing in my life? How do I know if I'm progressing, or am I just doing those things that are easy for me and then not actually progressing? I always was wondering. So Enneagram was like one of the tools that helped me to figure out what does it mean for my nature to be in the mode of sattva. It has changed my life. And I also remember many years ago, I would tell my husband to understand Enneagram, and he wasn't interested in the beginning. Then when he actually got into it, and then he tells even today how Enneagram changed his life. Until Enneagram, he's a particular type which it was very difficult for him to actually understand what is spiritual and what is just our own nature. Sometimes even in like Pandavas, right? Pandavas, they have 5 different personalities. They are not all same. Arjuna is not like Yudhishthira. Bhima is not like Nakula. Sahadev is not like Arjuna. So each of them are very different in their own natures, even though they are all Kshatriyas. They are all born Kshatriyas. Still, they have their own individual nature, and they have their own swabhava. So here in this purport, Prabhupada is emphasizing this point about swabhava, our natures according and our prescribed duties according to our natures and our situation. He's not talking about swarupa, because there are 2 aspects. There is swabhava and there is swarupa. Swarupa is your eternal identity. Jiver swarup hoy Krishner nityadas. So swarupa is unchangeable. It's fixed. It's permanent. Our swarupa is not doesn't change how many of our lifetimes we take, but our swabhava changes. Our swabhava can change every lifetime, like that. So somebody could have been Brahmana in one lifetime, and then next lifetime they're Kshatriya or Shudra, or like that. So this purport really puts our whole education system into question, our whole society standards of occupations into big question mark. And then it also puts our devotee relationships and our marital relationships and our personal relationships also into question as to, are we keeping our side of the street clean? Or are we just trying to imitate other people? Somebody did that, I'm going to do that. Somebody has that, I also want that. It doesn't, it's not the Vedic way of living. And Vedic, I don't mean to say in a superstitious, superficial level of Vedic society, not like that, but the system that used to work, that level. Anyway, these are some thoughts from Vilas Manjari and me. Any questions or any comments?
Mataji, can you explain me anagrams little bit in this class?
Yes, I mean, Vilas Manjari, would you be able to just for 5 minutes?
Yeah. Enneagram means 9. Enneagram means drawing. So Enneagram means there are 9 types of personalities in the whole world. Like all of us fit into one of those 9 types of personalities. And each type has different motivations, different basic desire. Each type has its own basic desire, key motivations, and fears, which drive their behavior and which has formed certain behavioral patterns. And we get to know as we there is a test also to find out our type, but tests are not fully accurate. We still need to examine ourselves to know which type I belong to. And that means each type has strengths, and their own strength, we can see how it causes weakness. The virtues which they cause, which they also become, which they also manifest as weakness, that we get to see. And I also can say that I also wanted to comment on what you said, Shri Radha Govinda, that focusing on keeping my side of the street clean is so helpful. This actually facilitates making use of Enneagram much more, actually, because I didn't have courage to look into my areas of weaknesses, and to actually look at my fears. I was usually busy in cleaning others' street, actually. It goes derives enjoyment on fixing others than fixing myself. So I was busy like that. So, but since I have heard this from you, actually this brought me more awareness of my internal world. Like you actually kept stressing the point that keep your side of the street clean. Whenever I came back to you with the struggles of others' faults, you always were expert in making me focus on my side of the street clean, and I have been applying, and that made me take help of Enneagram more, actually, because when we focus on ourselves, we know we need help, and actually we value the benefit that it gives. It helps us to see ourselves better and understand ourselves. Yeah, hopefully that's better. For example, the 9 types, one of the type is perfectionist. Type 1, they're all numbered. Type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and they're perfectionist. Type 1 is perfectionist. Type 2 is helper. Type 3 is achiever. And type 4 is individualist. And 5 is investigator. And 6 is loyalist. 7 is enthusiast. 8 is challenger. And 9 is peacemaker. So each type has basic desire, core motivation, and basic fear, and we come in touch with those and also each type has different levels of consciousness, healthy, average, and unhealthy. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very basic description, but we plan to present more professionally this whole system and help in each of you through coaching programs and individually help you navigate your, as she said, motivation, your strength, your weakness, what would it mean for you to keep your side of the street clean, etc. And just like Vilas Manjari said, like for her personality, she's very good at catching mistakes and faults, and she's very sharp in observing that. And then that like her strength itself can be the weakness. And similarly, my personality type, my strength is my weakness. My strength is I'm very considerate and understanding about people, and that's also my weakness, because I tend to help others to keep their side of the street clean, and it becomes difficult and austere for me to look at my side of the street clean, in the sense I'm always like being considerate about others. I always justify for their mistakes instead of actually looking at my side and say, hey, I'm actually feeling hurt by this person. So we all have our own weaknesses. It's not the same weakness for everybody, in other words. So yeah, we plan to help you with that as well. Today we thought of presenting this particular verse of Bhagavad Gita because it's very clear. We cannot imitate other people. We cannot give a class that somebody else gives. Today in the morning I gave class for South Indian people. In Kannada, and 50 Vaishnavis were there. And that's what we were talking about. Like, we cannot just give class like somebody else. We need to own the message that you want to present, you want to deliver. So you need to understand yourself. You need to understand your strength. You need to understand your weakness. And then you'll be able to apply your strength and weakness. You'll apply the strength to serve others, and you'll work on your weakness to strengthen your character, like that. So, yeah. And Rajeshwari, Radhika, we will present pictures and everything. We have resources that we are preparing to present with you. Yeah. Yeah, Vilas Manjari is talking about the Pandavas, right? I mean, they're a perfect example of different personality types with different challenges, and the same situation, each of them approached differently, very differently. Any other comments or questions? I know this is a very vast topic, but we are just kind of like giving you a trailer of different personality types.
Here it is talking about Swadharma. Swadharma, sometimes we are not able to, as we become a devotee, now we have already we have our nature and our Swadharma as a householder or whatever it is. But when we become a devotee, we come to in different duties and responsibilities, or our vows, what we have took. So sometimes we found it like challenging to to complete those things in a proper manner, so elevate our consciousness. But sometimes it's a struggle because it's not our Swadharma. We are working against our Swadharma. So how we can understand through this purpose?
So if I understood your question correctly, you're asking what to do when we face obstacles in performing our Swadharma. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you can give me an example, it would help, because I mean, I just give you a general answer.
Sometimes as a householder, like if my children are going to school, so I have to get up and get their lunch and breakfast on time so they can go to school, but same time you have to go to the temple and attend the morning programs. So you understand, like the struggle is there. So how we can understand, like to whom we should give the priority, to our Swadharma, like it's our duty, it's our prescribed duty, or
So Swadharma, there are different levels of Swadharma. First, like for some people, it's easy to take care of their body, and it's harder for them to take care of family members. And there are types like type 2, they find it easier to take care of others and very difficult to take care of oneself, That's why understanding our nature and personality type helps us to prioritize accordingly. like a type 2, prioritizing their own health is more important, and that should be their priority. But maybe for a type 1, taking care of others should be the priority, because by default, like a type 2 mother or a wife, by default they will put others as a priority, and you don't have to tell them, they naturally will provide for their children. And type 3 might be very active, like type 3 is a very particular type, is like sun, the energy of sun, and they are like givers in the sense they'll show up in public situations, maybe like go to the temple and do service. That is very easier for the type 3s. But for a type 1, it will be difficult to get out of their comfort zone and try to go and do something outside, because ones are very much like justice oriented, right and wrong. They're like, come on, my house is a mess. I'm not going to go to the temple and clean the temple. I need to clean my house. But a type 3 will be very eager and spontaneous. And even if the whole house is a mess, they will immediately jump up and go and do service in the temple. So the advice will be very different. For somebody who's a type 3, you will say, come on, balance. I understand you want to be enthusiastic to go and do service at the temple, but it's also important for you to take care of your kids and make sure they are having nutritious food and they are actually, well situated. So, this is why we want to present this Enneagram, because we are seeing more and more that generalized answer cannot help everyone. It really depends on your nature. Depending on your nature, then we'll be able to tell you should prioritize this over that. And one example I want to give you is that sometimes I may be feeling, I had that experience recently. I may be feeling very lethargic and not be able to perform my duty, etc., etc. And then I may actually be in the mode of tamas guna, blaming myself and saying I'm so lazy and anybody else in my situation would have done better. Look, there are so many Matajis who have so many children and they're doing so much, and why I'm so this and that. And then actually taking a closer look, there was some health issues and so many deficiency and this and that actually my lethargy had not much to do with laziness at all. It was just something to do with my physical body not getting the proper nutrition and not getting the proper vitamins it needed. And so that's
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I think she lost her internet connection. Did that answer? Was that explanation helpful, Rajeshwari?
Yeah, it's very much. I understood what she's trying to explain. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's basically our motivation, which is making us struggle between the two choices. Because we have this conditioned nature of doing, which drives us, which we are driven by different motivations. So we struggle sometimes. That's why what she was telling, it depends on the type we have. For example, for a 3 who is success, he's called achiever. She's called achiever. For that type, success matters everything. Success is the main thing, and So they don't mind hiring a nanny to take care of the kids and go to work or go to temple to do the service, than to sit at home and take care of the, than to spend time on taking care of the kids. And for one like me, I value doing the right thing. Like, it doesn't matter so much the image, like, for the 3 image matters, for 2, 3, 4, for them image matters. But for me, I'm not so much image driven. I'm driven by doing right or wrong thing, righteousness. I fear doing wrong things. If I don't take care of the family, it wouldn't be right for me. So I focused on taking care. I don't struggle so much whether I'm going to temple or not. So that's what her answer, her explanation was perfect. Depending upon our personality, personality type, which Prabhupada terms it as psychophysical condition, right? In the purport of 335. Yeah, psychophysical condition. Yeah, depending upon our psychophysical condition, we have different responses. So we need to come in touch with our motivation. Why I want to prefer going to temple than taking care of kids. So, and then it helps us understand ourselves better and grow actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
She's back. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, that like term, like wanting to do the right thing. I actually, I was having a conversation with Vilas Manjari before the meeting, and, I was talking about, I went to a program and I was trying to decide if it's the right thing to leave or it's the right thing to stay. And so I was telling her my dilemma about right and wrong. And I was thinking, every type thinks right and wrong, but it's just that it's not that only type 1 is like thinking of right and wrong. It's just that the perspective of like she said, for a type 1, staying at home is the right thing. And for a type 2, going out, being helpful to others is the right thing. For the, so like the priority, for me, it may be, what does it mean right for me? Like that. For a 1 is like, I have to do, my house is important for me, my priority, like that. For a 2 is like, no, they are more in need, I need to help them because they are sick and I need to help. My home, I can fix it tomorrow. So that's the right thing to do, to help a friend in need or something. For a type 2, it'll be easy, that one. And for a type 3 is like, no, Janmashtami is coming, my house can be fixed anytime, but I need to be there in the temple. Janmashtami only comes once in a year, and I want to take the opportunity to be of service, like that. So every type is trying to do the right thing, but it's just that their intention and their need is different. For 1s, their need is to feel that I want to do things that makes me feel comfortable and makes me feel I'm aligned to my values. So for a 1, the value system of right and wrong is different than for a value system for a 2. So like that, we all have our sattva, rajas, tamas of our own types. And that's what, when Prabhupada says we shouldn't imitate others, I may look at type 1 and say, wow, they're always doing everything so beautifully. Today, I actually went to one of my students' house who is a 1, type 1. And her house is like spick and span, and everything is white, everything, furnitures and all the cushions and in the kitchen, everything is like super like 1, and I was thinking, why can't I keep the house like that? And then I realized, because I'm not type 1. And then Prabhupada is saying, don't imitate. Because if I buy everything white, it's going to be a mess. So like that, we all have our own natures. So we don't have to like be like somebody else. We have to find out who we are. And when we become aware of our strengths and weaknesses, then we progress in spiritual life much, much, much more faster. Like that. Any other question? Any other comments? Anybody else wants to add anything?
Prabhupada said, right? In this Kali Yuga, all of us have Shudra category itself. But then that's because, Garbhadan Samskara is not done. Usually in the previous ages, Garbhadan Samskara was done. And, a king's son the king would attract a soul who's also like a kshatriya kind of a thing. So then that particular child would grow up to become the next king. So that used to continue because of the Garbhadhan Samskara, attracting the right kind of souls. But now it's not happening. So in one sense, Prabhupada says in the class that everybody is a Shudra because you're always working for another person. Only Shudras work for others. Whereas the other three categories, they don't. Brahmana doesn't go and teach because he wants to get money. Brahmanical nature is always teaching and to give knowledge. Whatever they have, they want to give. And they used to get compensated either by the king or those whose kids they were teaching. Vaishyas, they were like the entrepreneurs of today. They're like the Vaishyas. They are just doing business for themselves. They are not under somebody else. So like that. And Kshatriyas are the administrative class. But here again, administrative class is also, just trying to bootlick another person who's higher just so that they retain their power. So everything is like kind of mixed, and it always all comes back to one thing, which is the Shudra category, working to please the superior. So that's how it's happening very much, changes which are prevalent in the society in Kali Yuga. But individually, when you look inside, that psychophysical nature, that is what comes very easy for you to do. That's what my Guru Maharaj said. What comes very easy for you to do without any struggle. What you're doing, that is your nature. That is your swabhava. Right? So that's how we can kind of identify. And also one thing that I heard from the seniors is it's because at our stage, we're not very acutely, learn it to find out the traits. It always helps to approach a mentor who's able to understand your nature, who's very sharp, and then they will be able to tell what is your type, what is your nature, swabhava. Based on that, we can understand, and then we'll also learn like how Mataji was explaining how we can overcome these our own nature has the both strength as well as weakness, like how we can overcome those weaknesses. At least for me yesterday, I was just understanding. Then I realized, oh my god, this is me. I did not even understand who I was till yesterday. I was thinking I am somebody, like that inner nature, why I was thinking, what was my desires, motivations and all. I always thought I was different, but why was I feeling like that? That I got to understand, which I'm so grateful to both of them for helping me with that. So it just like that. So once we understand, only it becomes even more clear, becomes very clear. Right now, till the time I still think, okay, I am a different type only. But then when I understood, this is why swabhava, this is why I'm acting like this, it becomes very easy to run towards anartha and everything. I mean, run through anartha and everything. It's more easier to deal with other people and to deal with our own selves. Just wanted to add that. Thank you very much.
Very good point, relevant point. Then when you said about it, why it's important for us to figure out, because anartha nivritti process becomes much easier, because we will all at one point, in our 50s or 60s, we'll figure out, this is my nature, this is my pattern, this is where I mess up. We'll figure out, but why not figure it out before? Why to keep doing the same things and expect different results and wait until we are like, old people? Why not actually understand our natures now and try to work on the anartha nivritti process and have better relationships in the next few years? It'll take, I would say, like a year or two to become completely in peace with your nature and your personality type and to work. And then it becomes your lifestyle. Then it'll help you understanding other people's types, and then say, oh yeah, this person is a heart type, they're being emotional because of this. Oh, this person is a gut centered. Then let me not take it personally. By the way, talking about, you were saying, Taruni, Radha was saying about it's important for us to have mentors, right? But let me tell you that sometimes mentors have their own limitations. They may not actually have accessed higher this even personality type. They may be sometimes stereotypical about how you should practice Krishna consciousness, and something may have worked for them, and they may think that you should do the same thing. Not everybody is able to guide you to the highest potential. So that's why also Enneagram helps, because you take the help that you get in the moment, then keep moving forward, be enthusiastic. If one mentor is not able to uplift you enough, then change, switch, move. No, you don't have to get stuck with it. And then keep working on keeping your side of the street clean, and to not blame others, because everybody has limitations. But what I found with Enneagram is, I'm telling you, Taruni, Radha, I'm warning you, once you actually know this Enneagram type, there is no, you will grow so fast, so quickly in your relationships, in your spiritual life, because there's no more justification, no more excuses, because you just become so knowledgeable and aware of your own strengths and weaknesses, and the strengths and weaknesses of others around you, and what is your evolutionary goal. And you won't find any more excuses to blame, shame, stay depressed. You'll always keep moving. It's like there is no more relaxation, in self-realization, like that.
That was beautifully put. Relaxation in self-realization.
No more relaxation in
Yeah,
self-realization.
absolutely. I was about to say, what a statement like that.
Seriously.
Punchline for today's whole thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Unless you're a 1, because then you have to relax, and that's your austerity.
No, even I have my moments of wanting to relax, but I'll not do anyway.
Yeah, for some types, the most difficult thing to do is to relax. Yeah, so anyway, we will get more into technical Enneagram, but today's point, what Prabhupada is making is that become aware. What is your nature? Become aware. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Don't try to imitate others. Don't compare yourself with others, and try to do your prescribed duties in a given situation to the fullest possible extent. And if you're going through crisis, if you're going through dilemma, maybe you're doing something wrong there. Maybe you have to work on your health. Maybe you're supposed to work on your priorities. Take a look. If things are unmanageable, it means something is not right. So you need to fix something. It's like pain is an indicator that you're doing something wrong. For example, if I put my hand in fire and it burns, it's an indication. Remove your hand from there. It's not the right place to keep your hand. As simple as that. Or if I'm trying to put my hand in between the door and somebody's trying to close the door, it hurts. And so it's an indication to remove your hand from the door. That's not the place to keep your hand. So similarly, if we are hurting in our life and our priorities are all upside down and we're struggling, it means we're doing something wrong. And it's time for us to reconsider. Yes, Taruni, Radha.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. My thought, I have a question. My thought was going to this point where when we are growing, there will be struggles where we need to overcome. One is you're in such a gross mess that you are explaining that it's so bad that you're understanding that this is not the right path. I need to move, I need to tweak, like that. And when you are on the right path, when you are climbing up the hill, it gets a little harder. I mean, it gets more difficult. The challenges are more. So there are struggles there also. But then we need to understand that there's a right path, and my struggle is I need to overcome this particular obstacle. Right. So that time also there is a struggle. So, but still you're on the right path. So to decipher, to understand that this is the right path, there's a struggle, and this is completely wrong path, and I'm really in gross struggle, gross mess. To know that also you need as you say, a wise person. And I loved what you said. Some mentors, they are stuck in their own, stereotypical thinking, and as the way they, teach those who are dependent, the mentees, right? It's difficult, and to move on when you find such people who are, when you're not even enlivened in their association, that means you need to understand that it's not the right kind of a mentor for you. They might be really Krishna conscious, they might be doing the right things, they might be really giving amazing things also, but when we don't feel enthused, we don't feel uplifted, that means that particular combination doesn't work well. I had experience like that. So you bringing up that point is like very valuable. But in this particular question that I'm trying to put out, the struggle is there in both the good path, the right path, and the wrong path. To understand that, in my understanding, is you need somebody who's wise. I'd like to hear from you more on this point, Mataji.
Yes, I agree. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that, that you can be dedicated in the mode of tamas, you can be dedicated in the mode of rajas, you can be dedicated in the mode of sattva. So let's say I want this particular job, let's say. And in that particular job, let's say there is a struggle. And then in the mode of tamas, it's like you're struggling and you're seeing that this business is not giving you money and you're really like putting your efforts and nothing is coming out of it. But in the mode of tamas, you're still determined. You still want to continue, but you're continuing with resentment, you're continuing with financial debts, and there is a sense of depression, but you don't want to give up because you're dedicated. And then you see that the results are only more and more depressing. The results are more and more losses, etc. And in the mode of rajas, we are like overconfident. We take risks and we continue because we are dedicated. I want to do this. I want to get this done. This is my duty. I've taken up this business or whatever it could be. Okay, any responsibility it can be. And the mode of rajas, maybe it's still dedicated, but it's in the beginning I feel overconfident, but then eventually the overconfidence becomes misery, because in the mode of passion, in the beginning we feel, yes, I can do it, I should do it, I want to prove to everybody that I can do this, and I want to do this, I want to show that I'm capable. We think initially some power is there, but then eventually it becomes painful. And every morning we wake up thinking, oh my God, I have to do this and I don't really. And then we're just trying to prove to somebody. And so you're still dedicated. It looks like you're still doing your duty, but you're doing your duty in the mode of rajas. But then there is a mode of sattva. Okay, it's hurting. What am I doing wrong? Maybe my expectations are wrong. Maybe my way of dealing is wrong. Maybe the way I'm planning is wrong. Where am I going wrong? In the mode of sattva, we check the dedication to make sense of it. Same thing with mentors. You can be loyal in sattvagun, rajagun, and tamagun. Oh, this person brought me to Krishna consciousness. I'm very grateful. Yes, that's very good. Therefore I cannot go anywhere else. This is the only person I should take shelter. Otherwise, I will be doomed and Krishna will never help me progress. And I don't like putting yourself in a stuck condition because of tamas guna. Although you may see you're not growing, you're not developing, you may not actually get much benefit or something, you still think, no, I have to be loyal. But it may be in the mode of tamas, you're still loyal, but it's tamaguna maybe. And in rajoguna, you may reject people without consideration and you may hurt people. So there are ways to move on in sattva, rajas, and tamas. There are ways to realize that whether this loyalty is beneficial or not. And then in the mode of sattva guna, we are loyal, we are faithful, but at the same time, we are honest and we are open to grow and develop ourselves. I hope that, I don't know if that answers your question, but basically I summarize whatever you said according to this modes thing.
Beautiful, Mataji.
Also, we can be mentors in sattva, rajas, and tamas. In mode of tamas, I think that this is the thing, and if you don't follow, you're going to hell. And in rajoguna, my way is the only way. If you don't follow my way, you're not Krishna conscious, and we think that there is no hope. And in mode of sattva, we want other people to grow, we want other people to develop.
In sattva also, I heard that the mentor, they know their limitation. They know their limitation, is so aware about their own limitations, so that when something happens which triggers the persons who are dependent, right? They know that this is my mistake. I need to be aware of it. From that platform, they kind of operate. So there's that level. Not everybody has. That's what I feel. It's very deep, right? To understand what are my limitations, being the the mentor of somebody else. They usually feel that, the way it's usually like the passion or the ignorance kind of relationships, usually, right? Very much, very much.
Right.
That's what we be like so dependent on Krishna to find the correct person, and also depend on Krishna to make that change also, right? To move on. Because I struggled a lot with that loyalty thing, so much. It's so difficult for me to like, that, what do you say? That loyalty issue that I had. I have to be loyal to this person, and I'm so grateful. The grateful thing also that I feel, plus the loyal thing, it kept me bound for so long, and I was suffering the whole time. It was so difficult, so difficult. Oh my God. When my husband was clearly telling, can't you see what's happening? This is not the way you need to be treated. My husband is able to see it, but I'm not able to give it up because of the loyalty and gratitude. And after a long time, Krishna's mercy, and then I was able to move on.
No, in Indian cultures, it's very difficult because the whole system is like that. And, it's almost like, it's almost like taking a Diksha Guru or something, you're stuck with that person and you have to do everything they say. You have to go and work where they say. You have to live in a place where the Shiksha Guru tells you. You have to marry the person the Shiksha Guru tells you. Everything becomes a, little bit artificial and, very, very, very dangerous, I would say, controlling people, because of their own insecurity. Actually, there's a lot of need, I would say, for mature leadership. And people need to understand their own Enneagram type and understand where they are weak. Otherwise, we become like dictators and we become like, it becomes like a mafia, it's not really spiritual leadership.
It's like Prabhupada says, before you go to a gold store, you need to know what is gold. You need to a little bit know what is what. Then only you'll be able to understand. Then when I was seeing those kind of, anomalies in their behavior, it's like the value system that they're teaching is different, but what they're doing is different. So that's because of that, I think it helped me to move on. Till that time, even though I was experiencing pain, I did not have the courage. So when I was slowly became acquainted with what's right, what's the teachings of Prabhupada, and seeing the anomalies in their behavior, then I had the strength. Till that time I did not. So that is also one more thing.
Not easy. It's not easy.
Right?
It's quite difficult. That to be in that phase of life, it's very difficult. It's easier said than done. I have also been in that phase of life where my mentors were trying to get me married to somebody they thought was right, even though I wasn't interested. It's a culture. It's, they try to do their best, but the culture is to think that they can, we need to kind of change that culture. We should give more freedom. And, the Indian system of education is they tell you what to think. But Vedic, please make a big distinction here, Vedic and Indian. The contemporary Indian is tell you what to think. But the Vedic culture they taught you how to think. And the Western world, they're trying to teach you how to think, but they don't know basic Vedic principles. So it's harder. You know what I mean? Like sometimes in the Western countries, they don't teach you what to think. They teach you how to think. Education system is a little bit better than in India. But the Indian condition is like, they tell you this is what you should think and this is what you should do. And that's also very true. Nitya Kishore is saying, wherever Indians are, the same culture, be it America or India. That's also very true. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, the last point I want to tell about this is, when you are under that kind of a toxic relationship with the mentor or whatever, right? But when from their perspective, no, they don't even realize what's going on with you. They're thinking they will be so convinced that they're doing the right thing, and they're being really idealistic and all that. It's such a I say, it's looking back today, I feel it's so sad, right? They're not even understanding. They lack that kind of empathy because they're so convinced that they are right. So
Yeah.
just imagine their poor condition. Their conditioning is so sad too, right?
Yeah.
They're
And
always suffering. But imagine stuck with that kind of an idea.
that's why I think all these tools, of course, see, Enneagram and all is not for everyone. You need to be a little smart to understand that and figure out your nature. And but it's not for everyone. Some people like to put the responsibility of their growth on their mentors. They don't want to take responsibility. They may not be intelligent enough to look at what is good for them. It's very Indian system of this mentor and this and that is quite messed up actually. Needs a lot of rethinking. If the mentors are really wise, emotionally mature, it's good, because then they will be vulnerable and they'll tell you, look, I don't know what is best for you. I can pray for you. We can discuss, but I'm not going to make decisions for you. You make your decisions. A good mentor will help you take responsibility for your decisions. A good mentor will not tell you what to think, what to do, who to marry, where to live, like that. Anyway, these are all important discussions we can discuss later. Oh, that's a very good quote. Vilas Manjari, could you kindly read that and conclude the meeting today? I don't feel so well, so I need to go. I need to log off. Can you please read this and then conclude the meeting? Thank you so much.
This is from Prabhupada, lecture on Bhagavad Gita 1.26 to 27. The same example as I gave sometime, that you learn how to drive aeroplane. So you go high in the sky, but if you are in danger, no other aeroplane can help you. You are finished. Therefore, you must be very careful pilot to take care of yourself. Similarly, in this material world, everyone individually has to take care of himself, how he can be saved from the clutches of Maya. That is Krishna consciousness moment. A teacher can give you hints. The Acharya can give you hints that you can be saved in this way. But the execution of the duties, that is in your hand. If you perform the spiritual duties rightly, then you are saved. Otherwise, even Acharya gives you instruction. If you don't follow, so how he can save you? He can save you by instruction, by his mercy, as much as possible. But you have to take it in your hands seriously. I just want to conclude with that. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was
Hare
really
Krishna.
wonderful. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.